Hello there! For those of you that joined us on Saturday's live stream, the leaks just couldn't stop flowing in. If you aren't up to date on LEGO Star Wars leaks, go check out the full thing because we get not one, but two leaks dropping live as we are streaming. But in that stream, we did build an AT-OT, an all-terrain open transport, which is seen in Revenge of the Sith, carrying Bly and his squad of 327 troopers, which hopefully we'll be able to fill this with later on this year, if the leaks are true, of course. And that was built using the LAATc LEGO Star Wars set, which is somehow miraculously still available on lego.com for its not first, not second, but third year in a row. Definitely something to do with the anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. And then we took the very popular Coruscant Guard gunship and turned this into a dropship. We don't actually see a dropship in Revenge of the Sith dropping off the AT-OT in question. So I like using the dark red one for this exact match because towards the end of Revenge of the Sith, specifically up towards Order 66, you know, the Republic think they've got the war in their hands and they are spread so thin, so I really don't know how they did it. It makes sense that Coruscant would be loaning out their police force gunships, which this kind of was used to transport some senators throughout the Clone Wars, but it makes sense that they'll be using absolutely everything on the important planets, which Felucia definitely is. Many a battle there over the Clone Wars. But as I said, these are alternate builds. You can build both of these ships with no extra pieces. But why should we stop there? I've gone since the stream and improved these. First off, this AT-OT, the inside has been improved tenfold, maybe even more than what it was in the stream. We've got enough seats for all the clones, so I have a rough number in mind of how many clone troopers we can actually fit, and seeing how many clones we can fit in the AT-OT, but also the dropship. The dropship does come along with it and can fit a few more figures, and then comparing that to the value we got for the AT-TE, which was a pretty good number of clones, and there were a few questionable seating arrangements when we did that. But this is going to be all straightforward, and now let's take a look at, first, the AT-OT. Just a quick heads up, throughout the stream, I was getting very confused with the AT-OT, the AT-TE, and you might even hear me say AT-80 some points in this video. Just know, I always mean the AT-OT when talking about the MOC that we have built here on the desk, and hopefully you can forgive me for any mistakes. On the outside, the AT-AT may look very similar to the AT-TE, one of my favourite childhood sets that I was so happy to pick up with this LEGO version, until you notice just underneath 1, 2, 3, 4 legs, which again you can make just using the pieces in the set. However, if you want to build these on both sides, you're going to need to find some extra pieces for the spare 2 legs. I want to talk about these early because I've recently had a short pop off explaining how you can build any LEGO element with other smaller LEGO pieces, and this right here is a perfect example. On the underside, holding the 2 legs, we have these 2 engine Technic pieces, which aren't too common unless you have one of the older LEGO AT-TEs, and I've managed to recreate them using only a handful of other Technic elements. I've used some of the half beams. They're half a Technic beam wide, which probably means they're a bit closer to a LEGO plate, and with the combination of different pins and half axle, half pin connectors, these legs on the left hand side are in an identical position to those on the right. This is a perfect example of absolutely any piece, so even if you're yet to pick up the set, you can definitely try and part out this model. The inside is very different. There's a lot more space than there was in the AT-TE, and popping off the 3 sides, not 1, not 2, but all 3 sides, well, the third one's a little more difficult, allows you access to the entire interior, which goes the whole length of the AT-OT, which is not only accurate to this vehicle here, but also accurate to the AT-TE. So you could keep the top section of the AT-TE on, keep the roofs on. Besides the fact that you're going to need to find more of these pieces, this ship should still work and have a much bigger interior than the original set. Whilst we're on interiors, right at the front here, I have managed to fit an extra pilot in the cockpit just by moving the chair back a few pieces and positioning the clone just in front. So this is definitely going to help us out later on. You might notice that I haven't packed this out with just pure seats. I've tried to make this look somewhat accurate to what we see on screens ever so briefly, and added some containers, perhaps for some weapons or even some thermal detonators to fit inside. We've got some headrests as well for the clones towards the back end, where it's probably going to be a little bumpier of a ride. And then we also have a fire extinguisher just in case something was to go wrong. Taking a look at all 4 back corners, not just the 2 you can see, but also on the panels that I have removed, there are little command posts for perhaps controlling the weapons at the front, perhaps for contacting the dropship, contacting the Venator, contacting all the other groups on Felucia. There are 4 computers as well as a targeting computer that I have kept in the back for the weapons. Maybe that controls both of them, though for one clone that does seem like a lot. These 4 computers can sit a clone, and either side you can even get an extra clone, where the original set would just have a gap that falls through. This video, however, isn't just about the ATOT, and we also have this dropship, which since the stream I have chosen to remove the extra detail we put in the middle. I just wanted it to remain clear so that the 2 hooks don't look like they're just one part of the ship, and actually stick out the same amount as we see in a ton of different images, compared to Lego's very long, bulky, sticking out ones that try to fit around the ATTE model. Actually, let's talk about that, because in Star Wars, the ATTE / ATOT and every other variant of the AT Walker and all of the gunships, be it the dropships, be it any modified gunship in the Clone Wars, I'm not too sure about all the expanded games, are the same size. They are exactly the same size, yet we have images like this, where Star Wars, to try and get it to work, especially in shows like Clone Wars, have shrunk down the ATTE to make it seem a bit smaller and fit more with the dropship. And I also mentioned the old Lego set, which again has these extended claws that stick down below the gunship and go around the ATTE, and it's just not very realistic. I know I'm talking about a space opera here, where a religious cult of sword wielders are defending the galaxy against some AI creations, but when it comes to building in Lego, my aim is to bring this all to scale. So we have a 145 scale gunship, which, to be fair, is pretty much unchanged from the original set, and a 145 scale ATOT from the ATTE set, which is pretty much 145 scale. And how do these 2 models come together? Well, you can see with the giant carry handle on the ATOT that the dropship has really no problem hooking that up and lifting it straight off the desk. We've even been able to keep the carry handle on the gunship. But you'll also notice when we lift this up, the ATTE is still the same length as the dropship. It doesn't shrink to half its length, and I can show you a little better by removing the wing with the modifications we made when we first got this set. That video is still up on the channel, and as you can see, even with one hand, it really is as easy as that. So right at the back, over the carry handle, and I guess blocking some of the eyesores when it comes to connecting the 2 ships, we do have the little latch with the big round circle thing that we've all come to love. Do we really know the purpose of this round thing? But even from the front, from the back, there's this massive gap in between both of these carry handles, and I do think it works better than having a separate feature down the middle connecting both these ships. I haven't seen anyone try to take this approach yet. Another nice thing about this dropship, while I'm on to modifications I have made, is the fact that not only we have this nice open area in the middle, which does split up these sets a bit differently than just, you know, studding the gunship on top of the ATTE, we also still have this front bay, which houses the old advent calendar command post that I guess was so good I kept it in and completely forgot about it with the clone inside. Instructions for this model, I'm afraid, will not be available online. It's not too difficult of a build, and I do encourage you to build this yourself if you own both of these sets or any of the older versions. So I guess to some extent there are instructions, but now's the moment that a lot of you have been waiting for. How many clones can we fit inside the LAATc and Gunship. I can officially confirm we have fit 35 clone troopers in the LAATc, but it doesn't just stop there because we also have to account for the Gunship. But before we get the official number across both of them, let's remove the panel, hopefully not knocking off any of these clone troopers. A lot of these are connected onto these 2x2 panels with the studs up the bum, and then the odd ones around the side have just used jumper tiles and jumper plates to connect them at their different angles. But it's so easy to pop off this panel and not knock off many, if any, of these clone troopers. You can see they're packed in there, but not too much. When you think back to my recent MOCs, like my Imperial troop carrier, that we really did cram them in with no breathing space. At least the clones in this model have quite a bit of breathing space and could even probably get something on their lap. A few space for weapons as well for the entire troops. But in this back body here, there are 33 clones. Well, that must mean that I fit 2 in the front. I think I already spoke about this earlier, so it's kind of been spoiled. But now you can see the 2 clones front to back in the cockpit fit without any modifications. And there's an argument you could probably fit a third. That's right, a third clone trooper in, because, well, maybe not a third. You'd have to sit them all on some sort of jumper plates and jumper tiles. But like I said, that's not any special modification to the actual cockpit itself, just where the troopers are sitting. It would have been nice to have got this panel to be removed as well, so you can see the whole interior, which I showed you earlier isn't too hard to do. But when the troopers are sat down, they are covering the bottoms of these 3x3 panels, which does make it hard just to pop out without any of the troopers bouncing around. But I do also have a special Commander Bligh from Filoni Clones here, 360 printing. Likelihood is you've probably seen this minifigure in quite a few of my recent videos, but this is to show how big the minifigures, how big the characters in universe. This is Bligh, near enough to his accurate height in Revenge of the Sith. And just look at how big that LAATc is. Look at how big Bligh is, or how small Bligh is compared to the feet of this thing. So it does match up to what we see in the movies. Likewise with the gunships. I guess the gunships are easier to compare to the 2 pilots in the front. It does match up to the size of the dropship and the gunships. Again, meant to be mostly the same length. Probably a little discrepancy in some Star Wars content because it is hard to keep track of it all. But we not only have the 2 pilots up front, taking our total to 37 now, but if we open this little container where I already said we had the Advent Calendar command ship, and it's a bit hard for me to fit my quite large fingers into this gap, so I could have probably also expanded that. We have 1 command ship or command station, and also another clone trooper, taking it up to 39. It would have been nice to have gone all the way to like 66 and crammed a few clones in, but I think 39 is a comfortable number. You can also fit a little med bay in here with the other clone if you wanted to. Perhaps there's an injured clone unit, and including Bligh, who does walk alongside this in Revenge of the Sith, we could perhaps count 40 clones in the OT and dropship. But I'm going to stick with 39, which is definitely more than we could fit in the LAATc alone. We've just got so much more space. And that also means that when we get the 327th battle pack, if we get that battle pack later on this year, it's going to cost so much for me to build this model with those clone troopers. But I definitely want to pick some up and see at least how half filled this ship does look. Perhaps that also means I'll have some clones to give away here on the channel. Stay tuned for that. But that is all for today's video. Let me know if you did enjoy it by dropping a like. And coming up, we do have 2 bonus streams this week. Wednesday, which is probably tomorrow by the time this video goes out, and also a charity stream on Friday. We will be speaking about Lego Star Wars and all the leaks coming up to May 4th, and then also hitting a stream Saturday as well at the regular time whenever this video goes out. So I hope to see more of you there. Thank you so much to over 100 of you that tuned in live for last Saturday's stream. the first stream to hit over 100 live, and I didn't even notice it. And hopefully we can continue to hit that in the next coming weeks. Until then, may the bricks be with you always.